A podcast about product management, user experience design, technology, and more. This is Product by Design. All right, welcome back to another episode of Product by Design. I am Kyle Evans, and we have this week another guest with us, Michelle Nedelec. I tried to rush into it and then hesitated. You shouldn't ever pause. But welcome, Michelle, to the podcast. It's great to have you.
I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, let me do a really quick intro of you, and then we'd love to hear a little bit more about your experience, some of the things you've worked on, and then we'll kind of dive into it. But Michelle is an expert in entrepreneurialism, love that word, and the founder of Awareness Strategies. She's run her own series of companies for 22 years, and for 15 years has been helping other managers and executives. So we're going to dive into a number of those things, and I'm really excited to talk about it. But before we do, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm the creative director of our company, Awareness Strategies, and I say our. I'm the co-founder with my partner in business and pleasures, I'd like to say, and he runs the tech side of things. So we take away all of the aspects of business that most people hate. Some people have referred to us as the tech plumbers. We got all those kind of jobs that nobody likes to do, but we love to do them. We thrive in it. We hire techies that get super excited about figuring out, dates and logic and who gets what, when, where, and all that kind of fun jazz. So that's what we love to do.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to kind of jump into some of those things. But before we do, outside of all of the marketing and tech and company things that you do for Awareness Strategies, what is it that you like to do outside of the office?
Awesome. Well, when my wings aren't being clipped by the government, I love to travel. I also love taking on special projects. Our latest special project, we adopted a German Shepherd Pit Bull mix, and he was a little bit feral when we got him. So training him has been super entertaining, to say the least. But in a few short months, we've got him wrapped around, and he's now a super awesome dog, part of the family, and we absolutely love and adore him.
Wow, that is awesome. We just got a new puppy as well, and he's a golden doodle, and it is a lot of work to train a new dog. And I'm sure it's especially the case when it is an older, not a puppy anymore. And like you said, a pit bull German Shepherd mix, which I imagine can be a little bit intimidating, but once they're well trained, I had a friend who had a German Shepherd growing up, and they are such intelligent dogs and so great once they're well trained and once they're kind of accustomed to things. So how has that been for you?
Oh my God, he is super smart. He is painfully smart. He's smarter than we are at times collectively. So we have to create these mastermind games for him in order to keep him entertained. But yeah, he got on to sit, stay, all the usual ones instantaneously. So then I had to go and Google things to keep him occupied. So we're working on spin and circle and under. We don't want to teach him to jump because I can just land that in 5 seconds flat. We're in trouble. It's been super fun. And my son keeps, at the beginning, I was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Why did we do that? And my son goes, well, or you could have got a puppy who would have chewed the walls and the furniture and everything else. So either way, we're pretty good. But yeah, he knows the difference between scraps and food that's still there for us. He's brilliant. Wow. That's awesome.
That's so much fun. Awesome. Well, I did want to ask too, favorite place that you've traveled. You mentioned travel being a passion of yours, either favorite place or favorite recent place that you've traveled.
Awesome. Well, one of my all-time favorites was in St. Martin in the Caribbean, because it was all the original 1600s cobblestone streets, the buildings, history was alive and well there. It was epic and awesome. And I say was because they had a hurricane which kind of ripped out the front of the the streets, which is super sad and unfortunate. But the locals, of course, being used to hurricanes, rebuilt and everything's fantastic. So if you get a chance and you go into kind of the back streets, and if you see cobblestone streets, they're all the original 1600s. If you see stained glass windows, they're all the originals. It's quite fantastic and amazing.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. Have to maybe check that one out one day. All right.
And they make really good rum too.
Wow. Yeah.
No, that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, I want to dive in a little bit more to, some of the things that you do, and, from marketing, entrepreneurship, some of the technology aspect as well. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about your journey? What brought you to the focus that you have right now, and starting your own company, and then also helping other companies, other executives, other leaders with their marketing, their technology, their business automation, all the things that you do.
Nice. Well, I started my entrepreneurial journey at about 23, but in this latest endeavor that we have, I was doing personal development training and working with executives to help them to build their businesses, from everything from the strategy, the systems, the support, the state of mind. So whether they were hiring and they needed help with that, or they needed help with their marketing, most of it was very much mindset, because a lot of them had got a corporate buyout and then decided to become an entrepreneur, going, hey, I mastered it here. Clearly I can do it over there. And then they realized in short order that it's not quite the same. There is a lot of mindset going on to stop them from doing that. So I did that for years. And then people started asking for courses to be in video so that it was more accessible for them, around 2013, 15, somewhere in there. And as I was moving into that, I realized that the tech behind just putting up a video was a lot more intense than I had given credence to it. And fortunately, my partner in business and pleasure, as we like to say, is a techie, and he would do specialized software project management. So big companies like IBM, Halliburton would hire him to figure out how much it was going to cost. He was making something out of nothing. It's like, it's never been done before, but we need software that does this. So he's like, yeah, it'll take you 3 years. It'll cost you X millions, and you're going to need so many people, so many servers, all that fun stuff. So they're big projects. And around that same time, he's like, I'm getting sick of the politics. I'm not sure I want to be doing this anymore. And as we were learning kind of how digital marketing differs from analog marketing, if you want to put it that way, or traditional marketing, I was realizing that people in our mastermind groups, other speakers, were having the same difficulty when it came to tech. I said, well, we're going to have to pivot anyway. So, and the pivot to kind of a how-to model of, what is the problem that we solve? Is it how to speak from stage? Is it how to, monetize your business? Like, we're going to have to specify in some way. Why don't we just switch over to the tech done for you? Because clearly there's a need for it. And as we started to delve into it more and more, we realized that all small businesses need a lot of tech support. So it was a good pivot.
Yeah, no, that definitely sounds like it. And I want to kind of pull on a couple different threads there, but maybe you can expand a little bit specifically on some of the things that you decided to focus on with that. Because I know we talked broadly about some of the marketing and technology and business automation, but what exactly is all of that?
Well, absolutely. So when we were taking the programs, people in our sphere were also kind of trying to do it, because it wasn't, believe it or not, like that was only 7 years ago at this point. It was not that long ago, but technology changes really quickly. So what's kind of obvious today was not obvious back then, certainly not to me. And a lot of the people were going, hey, we're doing this. We need a shopping cart. We need a merchant account. We need this. We need that. And we're pulling them from all directions. And we built what I love to call Frankenware. And poor Frank and I had a great love-hate relationship there for a while, because anytime somebody did an update, poor Frank would lose an eye or a limb, trying to figure out how to put it back together again. Sometimes it went in the right spot, sometimes it didn't. And we were at a program, and Brad discovered at that time Infusionsoft, or what's now Keep Max Classic. And to him, the clouds parted, the angels sang. I'm looking at, I want to have an all-inclusive piece of software that can integrate, because to him, obviously, integrating data is huge. It's the foundation, right? You get dirty data in, dirty data out. I just like saying that, but to him, it's a real annoyance. And I said, sure, I don't care. Couldn't care less. You do what you got to do and make it work, and we'll figure out how to make it happen. So with that transition, we realized that the power of this piece of software was phenomenal. A lot of people had kind of trashed it, didn't like it, were confused by it. It got some nicknames like Confusionsoft. And we went, yes, it is. That's the whole idea. It is a very difficult piece of software to use, but it does everything. So the benefit is we make Infusionsoft sing like the Stradivarius that it is. And a lot of people are trying to make it play like a ukulele. Nothing against ukuleles. They're lovely and wonderful. But as far as a stringed instrument goes, they're pretty simplistic. And a lot of software companies have come in and tried to take over that market, marketing their simplicity, which is great on one hand, because then entrepreneurs have simple software that they get to use. But on the other side of it, they're losing the capacity that the software has. So we figured out a way to productize so that even the solopreneurs that are just kind of starting out and going, hey, this is not my jam. I do not want to be playing in tech. I want to go and play my music. I want to record my videos. I want to do whatever it is. It's not tech. So then we come in and can serve and support them. All they have to do is say, hey, I want to have a 3-day event coming up, and what do I need? And then we can come in and serve and support, going, okay, well, you're going to need landing pages. You're going to need opt-ins. You're going to need, promotion material. You're going to need swipe copy. You're going to need this, that, and defining what that means, because a lot of people look at us and go, what's swipe copy? So we're like, that's okay. And then we can also work with the big multi-million-dollar clients. Most of our clients are kind of in that $1 to $20 million phase. And we've got a whole ton of products and services that we're working on there that are super exciting right now too, but we'll get into those.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you mentioned one thing that I want to kind of touch on a little bit more is the productization of what you're doing, but also of taking some existing software and then making that work. What was kind of the process of that for you in taking all of these things, taking the problems that people have, and then really productizing a solution in order to make that extensible, really, and like scalable going forward? So what was that like for you and your business?
It was like most entrepreneurs' experience of, we don't have a clue what we're doing. We don't have a clue what our clients need or how they're wording it. And it was haphazardous at best. But the light at the end of the tunnel is we worked with a lot of people to figure out kind of what their wording was, how they honed in, what was most important to them, and being able to understand the needs of the small business, the solopreneurs, is vastly different from somebody that has a team and they know what they're doing. They have a product that converts. They already have the messaging down pat. They already have those things in place. And how do we serve and support the solopreneurs with an affordable tech support solution and still, giving them access to the information that they need? Like, how do we hone in on our message? How do we, transition from my content to sales? How do there's so many aspects of business that somebody has to kind of wrap their mind around, especially when they're on the entrepreneur, but we can give them best practices without having to deliver on that and still stay focused on the tech aspect of things.
Right. No, that's really interesting. What have been, as you've been doing this and working with a lot of, obviously, different types of individuals and businesses and companies, what have been maybe some of the common mistakes or difficulties that people have run into or are experiencing as you either start working with them or before they come to you, that they're looking to solve with some of these things?
Absolutely. So some of the biggest mistakes I'd say that people have is that they're trying to get things off their plate. So they'll hire a VA and go, hey, can you just do this for me? And oftentimes they're trying to get things off their plate that the poor VAs are just not trained to do. They're not qualified to do. They're taking somebody that's really good with systems and organizing things and asking them to do abstract thinking and kind of techie work. And to us, it's mean, cruel, fair to these poor people to be doing that, because at the same time, you can't take a tech and say, hey, can you organize my desk? Because they're never going to be able to do it. It's not how their brains work. So if you can understand what tasks you have and who would be best served to deliver on those, then you can start to see, hey, when it comes to organizing my desk and my emails and my phone and my life, absolutely somebody that's kind of that S systems type personality fits perfect here. And then when it comes to the tech, this is who I'm looking for. Second mistake they'll make is they'll go, okay, I need a tech, but my nephew's really good with computers. I think I'll get him. Necessarily have the experience or the wherewithal of marketing of the software applications themselves, which I totally get it. There's basically two ways to hire help. One is the one you can afford now, or one is to build a plan that includes the cost of operations of hiring the specialists in those areas. And so that's what we want to do is to be able to create a strategy that builds out their year at minimum, and being able to then say, okay, if we have these structures in place, not only are you obviously paying for us, but you're creating an income for yourself. And at some point, you're going to need to hire this person, that person. And they know when they can do that because of the plans that we help them set up.
Right. No, that's really interesting. Some of those mistakes. At what point do you, as a business owner, know how much that you can do yourself versus needing help? Like where have been some of those like pivotal moments that you've seen that people often find like, yeah, I can do this myself, or no, like I really need help in doing some of these things?
Yeah. And there are definitely two different types of entrepreneurs. Ones are the ones that I can do this myself, therefore I will. And the ones that go, I could do this myself, but there's no way I'm doing it. And those are the particularly ones that we love working with. For example, we have a coach that we work with, and she started a brand new business. So she had made her money in commission sales, doing sales for another company that did trained people on how to be holistic healers. So she made her money there and decided, okay, I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to teach these holistic healers how to do sales and training. And she's super smart and could have done her own tech. And she said right off the bat, I'm not doing that. I'm going to focus on what I do. I'm going to be in front of the camera. I'm going to create content, and that's my focus. I need you guys to take care of all of this. And by the way, I have an event coming up in 2 months. So like, okay, scramble, let's get this happening. So at that event, she made, I think it was $40,000 at that first event. And then a year later, she was making $100,000 at that event because she knew where to spend her time and focus and energy, and not playing the things that she could well have done. And at first it was like, okay, I want to know how to do this. I want to know how to do that. And we'd show her, absolutely. And eventually just kind of tapped out on that one. Yeah, okay, you guys don't care anymore. And then there's the other side of things where people are just curious and they want to know how to do it. And we're like, yeah, we'll absolutely show you how to do it. Okay, how much time are you spending learning how to do this? How much time are you spending actually trying to do the tech? And some of our clients will go in and they'll ruin more than they solve. And we're like, dude, okay, either you got to pay us more so that we have time to clean up your messes before you can go live with them, or you got to get out of the tech and just let us do it. And, I get it. Entrepreneurs, we're a little bit control freaks, and we like to stay in the thick of thin things. But as soon as we learn to get out of our own way and just kind of leave those things up to the experts, do their thing, you don't have to be in it. It still functions. It still works great. It'll cost you less money in the end.
That's really interesting.
We love you both.
Yeah.
We're just going to charge you more.
Yeah, no, it reminds me of a meme that I saw of, I think it was a design one where it gave like different pricing, where if, we design it all, costs like $100. You help design it, costs like more. And then like, you design it all and then we fix it. It was like the most expensive. So it was like, just, you could pick your option of like, hey, just let somebody else do it and it'll be less expensive, or be more and more involved and then let them fix it in the end. And that ends up being like the most expensive option. It reminded me of that, because ultimately it can kind of, like you were saying with the mistakes, like it can come down to that, and prioritizing like where is the most important place to be involved as either an entrepreneur or somebody working on either these types of projects or other things. Where is your expertise and where is your focus best suited, and where do you get the most value? And then how can you start to pick out the areas that you either need help in or are not the primary way that you're delivering value into your business or into the business that you're you're building or working with. So that's really interesting.
Absolutely. And I think the other mistake is that some entrepreneurs will go tactics first and strategy second. So they'll hire somebody that does Facebook ads, or they'll hire somebody that does, a thing, and they don't really have a strategy in place for it, which, no offense to the people that are doing the Facebook ads, they're awesome and amazing and fantastic at it. But without the business strategy in place, Facebook ads, Google ads can become a really nice bonfire of money pit. Unfortunately, you don't get the marshmallows, though. So you'd be better off just buying marshmallows for the community and throwing them in. Like, you really want to start with strategy first, and being able to find somebody that you can outsource to, or somebody that has that expertise, so that you're getting the fractional CIO, the fractional CMO, the strategy in place of how are we going to lay this out? Okay, and then what are the tactics? What actually needs to be done in order to fulfill on that strategy? And if it's done in that way, and you're getting the project managers in place with the strategy, then you're not having to do that either. So if, as an entrepreneur, I hire somebody to do my social media, and somebody to do my Facebook ads, and somebody else to, do my data entry, I still have to project manage all those people. So I haven't really solved my problem. I've just changed my problem. And that doesn't really work either. You really want to be able to bring somebody in that can project manage all of the marketing for you. So you're still making the decisions. You're still kind of seeing that high level, and the people that know how to do what they do are implementing on those tactics.
Yeah, I feel like you've touched on a point that is it's almost totally universal, in that having the right strategy, regardless of, we're talking, entrepreneurship and business, but creating that strategy first, so you know what you're tactically executing towards, rather than having a lot of tactical execution of things that you need to do that aren't necessarily driving towards a singular strategy, and can often, hopefully they will be, but can oftentimes lead in multiple different directions and end up being more expensive, more time consuming than having a strategy that kind of guides the tactical decisions that you're trying to make. That's a really, really great point that I feel like we could hit home on a whole bunch of different ways. But do you have any salient examples of that, or times when that has really worked out, or times when people you're working with have kind of missed the mark on that, and it hasn't worked out well?
Oh, hundreds of them. So when entrepreneurs are kind of trying to figure things out, and I totally get that there's going to be this really chaotic phase in an entrepreneurial business where they're just trying to figure things out. And that is awesome and wonderful. So don't think you're broken or you haven't done it right or whatever if you're in the midst of that phase. But if you can look at the strategy first, then your overall arch is, this is my objective. This is what I want to hit. These are the things I need to have. So for example, if you know your ideal client's ideal journey, then you're honing in on this one product that is most profitable for you, that you love to fulfill on, and your clients want it, need it, love it, and have the wherewithal to pay for it. Now, all of a sudden, everything you do is getting that kind of cog in the wheel turning. And when that cog in the wheel turns, the whole wheel starts to turn, as opposed to looking at all the different aspects of, the Facebook ads, the CRM, the whatevers, trying to figure out how to get them moving becomes really arduous and cumbersome. So our goal is to be able to narrow in on what is that one product that you absolutely love to deliver, has profitability, your clients want it and love it. And then what do we do to make sure that that gets in front of those people? Because those people aren't necessarily everywhere. So they're not on YouTube and Google and TikTok. They're probably on one of those things looking for you, and you can hone in all your attention in that one area. And then you can go and take that content that you built for that one thing, and you can put it anywhere you want to. But it's a very different mentality than going, oh, we need a TikTok ad and we need a YouTube ad. And they're two totally different things, and they don't work. So if all your efforts are honed in on one kind of railroad track, that you can hone in on that and then start throwing stuff out the window, it makes it a lot easier than throwing stuff out the window and trying to build a train track. A high profile example of this is back in the day with Apple, right? When Steve walks in and he goes, okay, we've got whatever they had, 10, 20, 40 different products that all the engineers are working on. And he comes in and goes, no, we're going to work on one. That one product was the most profitable, was the most executable. It had every component that you needed to be able to run a successful business. Everything else is a distraction at this point until we get where we want to go. And then we can decide if we want to have more products than that. And clearly, Apple has 3 products. they're still top of the industry, so they're not hurting because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really great example. And I love a whole bunch of that, because I feel like, the being able to really focus, like you were talking about. And I remember in I think it was Steve Jobs in the book by Walter Isaacson, where he draws that, here's the grid, and it's one product focused on each thing. We're getting rid of literally everything else, and it's this is for consumers and this is for professionals, and that's it. And that was what they focused on. And being able to have that level of focus, really it takes away a lot of the other distractions and other things that could pull you into areas that maybe aren't as good. And you touched on that with TikTok and YouTube and other places. I feel like it's so easy to get caught up in some of the virality of a lot of things that are happening, but really focusing on, like you said, who are the segments that we're trying to target? What is the message that we want to do? And how can we be really hyper-focused on either our messaging or our product or whatever it is, and not necessarily get caught up in, we have to have all of these different channels and all of these different things to get everyone everywhere, but rather focus on the most valuable in the most valuable way. How have you kind of approached that with, maybe different people or companies as you're working with them and having some of these conversations?
Absolutely. So one prime example was a prospect that came to us and said, I need your help. I need all my tech done. I can't, stay on top of all of this and figure out who, what, when, where, why. And turns out that what she was doing was working with high-end executives and being able to help them to reignite their relationship with their spouse. And I went, okay, these guys do not spend their time on TikTok or YouTube or. And if they do, they're looking to build their business. They're not looking to improve their relationship with their spouse. Guarantee it. What you want to do is get your name into magazines on airplanes. And I get it, there are no magazines and airplanes right now. But if you can get into those magazines, it would be there that they're going to carry on to the planes, whether that's the digital version or the physical edition. But that's what most executives do. That's when they catch up on their kind of magazine time. And those ads are going to catch them when they're relaxed, they're down, and they're going, hey, you know what? Maybe I spend too much time on planes. Maybe I spend too much time focused on my business, and I should probably spend at least some time focused on my relationship with my spouse. And how's that going to work? Because if you're competing with how do I grow my business and the strategy and what they're reading at 8:00 in the morning, you're not going to get that. They're not going to spend the time and the wherewithal to go away from that. It's kind of like if somebody's spending their time watching cat videos, they're not going to all of a sudden go, hey, do you want to pay your mortgage down? They're not going to do that. They don't care. They're trying to get rid of their problems in that moment. And you really want to know, what is your ideal client doing at that point in time that your natural fit into kind of where they're at mentally, physically, emotionally, and being able to hone in on that so that you're not bombarding them with information and trying to knock on the door when they're in the bathroom. They don't want to be disturbed. You're wanting to get them when they're open to whatever that conversation might be. So in kind of looking back at how do we identify who our ideal client is, where are they spending their time, where are they most apt? Most people are either in the YouTube world of, I need to solve this problem. How do I do that? I want to watch a video on how I solve that problem. How do I bake that cake? How do I fix my relationship? How do I whatever? Or they're Googling it and it'll pop up. A lot of businesses, kind of the bigger businesses, especially if they've been around for a while, they're used to solving their problems with, making a phone call, a handshake, meeting some influencers, and everything's very kind of traditional sales and marketing, if you want to put it that way. They often have the hardest time trying to figure out, okay, how do I find these people online? Because I don't spend time online. why would I want to do this? And what they're not realizing is they do spend time online, but when they go online, they're looking to solve a problem. And how do you then translate that thing that you deliver, whether it's a Lamborghini or a Rolex watch, into their digital time so that you're getting a hold of them at the right time?
Yeah.
That answered that question.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And it brings up a couple other ideas to discuss. Because, at first when you say like, get into some of the airline magazines, or, that you're like, oh man, is that the right thing? And then as you discuss the why behind it, it's like, okay, you're talking about people who are traveling a lot, in a time where, they're open to having that, being approached with that idea. And all of a sudden, like, it's like, yes, this is like the avenue to find them at the right time, in the right place, in probably the right medium as well. So how do you approach that for, all of the variety of different cases that there may be, is in, finding what is the right medium, what is the right group to be targeting, and how to really focus in on that?
Absolutely. So we have for the solopreneurs up to about $1 million, we have our blueprint. And when people go through the blueprint, it's kind of like a half-day VIP of understanding your business, your objectives, where you're going, what you want to do, and looking at your tech stack and being able to look at, okay, not only do you have the technology in place to be able to fulfill on that, but let's back up the bus and go back to exactly what you're talking about. Who is your ideal client? What is their ideal journey? And what is all this noise that you've created in your business? How do we hone in on that one thing for just 12 months? For 12 months, just hone in on that one thing so that you can figure that out. Because obviously, a dental office is going to have completely different issues and wherewithal. The decision maker is totally different than, say, a corporate lawyer, right? They're not, even though they may have similar structures in their business, who their ideal client is and where they're going is completely different. Somebody also said, it was a great analogy of the difference between demographics and psychographics. If you're only looking at demographics, where does somebody live, what's their income, all of those things, versus what's their mindset and kind of where they at, you could potentially put King Charles and Meatloaf in the same kind of bucket demographically, because they live in London. They probably have about similar incomes, all that. Well, did a couple of months ago, and being able to understand their demographics are similar, but their psychographics are going to be completely different. And who do you want to be able to hone in on? So in the blueprint, we're looking at those aspects. For companies between $1 million and $20 million, we have the digital adoption roadmap, and that's a much more intensive look for those companies at where do you want to go in the next 5 years? Who are those ideal clients? What changes have to happen? Because obviously with a $2 million company, or more, like Steve Jobs' experience, telling them that you're going to go from 40 products down to one isn't exactly something that they're willing to do overnight. So it's being able to understand, how do we transition into that? How do we change into that? How do we morph into that? Why are we morphing in that direction? And what's it going to get for us in the end? So long story short, to answer your question, how do we do that? That's how we do it. Every business is completely different, right? Even if you take two dental offices, if one's focused on orthodontics and the other one's pediatrics, they're going to have two completely different markets and things like that. You take two that are into orthodontics, and they're going to be completely different depending on kind of what aspect you're going for. If you're going for the kids, it's one thing. If you're going for the moms, going to be something different. And you really want to know, what is that? Some people love working with kids. Some people love working with the stay-at-home moms. And that becomes important to your team culture. And who are the people in the office? What kind of atmosphere do you want to create? Because if you want to create a kind of spa-like experience in your dental office, then you probably don't want to be promoting to pediatrics, because it's going to take away from that spot-like experience as soon as somebody comes in. On the other hand, pediatrics can be a lot of fun. You can make it really bright and fun and exciting. It's just two different markets, even though both are orthodontics and dentistry.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, and would be really approaching it in probably different channels and different places and different mindsets, like you were talking about, where if it's just pure demographics. And I love this concept because it's so easy to get into just like demographic segmentation, where it's, like you were saying, moms who live in a certain area, maybe a certain income. And like if you separate it like that, all of a sudden you have two people who may look demographically very, very similar, but who are looking for two very different experiences. One maybe looking for a pediatric dental experience, and one may be looking for the spa dental experience. And like those are two very, very different things. And finding the right way to segment and say, here is what we're trying to do, and going back to what we were talking about, here is our target customer and what we're trying to accomplish, and the strategy that we have, and here's how we can start to market to that, or start to bring in those types of customers or users or whatever the product is specifically in the way that we're targeting. I think that's so important, and it's so easy to miss when we just focus on like very demographic type segmentation, as opposed to like what more depth can we add to these things that people actually care about, because two people can look very, very similar but be very, very different in what they're looking for and what they're thinking about and what they care about in a product or an experience.
Right. And it can be as simple as, a lot of people, obviously, when they think of, digital marketing, they're not thinking what color is my reception area. But when you hone in on, who is that ideal, and can we, if by honing in on a certain demographic, psychographic, make more money, right? And the odds of having a lot more house moms going, hey, I just want to have that dental or that spa experience when I go to the dentist's office. I want it to be calm and serene. All of a sudden, you're changing a few things. You might change color of the paint. You might bring in, a little waterfall feature in the office. It's a really small change to make to the traditional marketing, but it fits into your digital marketing. And now all of a sudden, they're seeing that in a totally different way than, can we align your teeth? Well, yeah, anybody with braces can align your teeth, but I want this experience to go along with it. And when you can look at your business kind of as that holistic approach of, what does this journey mean to our clients, and how do we make that as easy and effortless as possible? And I mean, sometimes it can be as easy as putting a chat bot on your website so that people can get the answers they're looking for quickly and effectively, because you have a lot of ADD clients. Awesome. Great. Give them a chat bot. It's not that hard.
No, that's great. How do you approach some of that holistic experience with, some of the customers or clients or people that you're working with? Because I feel like that's so important and so easy to miss, but really thinking holistically about what is the experience that we want to create within either our business or our product or whatever it is that we're offering, and how do we accomplish that? And what's the journey like for a customer or a user? How do you go about approaching that with the people you're working with?
Absolutely. So all of our clients get an onboarding strategy call where we're looking at their business and going, okay, this is great. I have an idea of how you've run your business up until now, but let's go back and give me the big picture. Why did you go into business? What kind of lifestyle are you wanting to create? Like, so many decisions become part of this, because a lot of people go into business in order to have freedom, to have, the time capacity to be able to go and watch your kids' sporting games on the weekend or on a Friday, right? And yet they've created these businesses that are so complex that they're working 60 hours a week, and, none of those dreams have been fulfilled. How do we bring that back and just go, okay, so if you could create this, what might it look like? And then start to put the pieces together. And oftentimes it's just because the people that they've hired were based on tactics, not on strategy, and didn't have the wherewithal to then fulfill on that strategy either. So one of the uniquenesses that we have is being able to look at that strategy. Our utmost is our strategy first, and then the systems come into place second. Then we look at the support to be able to put it into place, and then we look at the state of mind of where somebody's at. Because until you get those things in place, the terror and the fear doesn't hit. It's like, I can't work 4 days a week. That's going to blow out my business. Like, no, actually, it's going to grow it. And look, this is how we're going to do it. So by working with them and strategizing with them right off the bat and saying, okay, this is how we're going to lay it out. And a lot of people think they need to be handheld all the way, and they really don't. They they need the strategy in place. And then once we have kind of that game plan in place, they can say, okay, this event is coming up. We've already said that this is what's coming up. Is it terrifying? Yes, I get that. We're working on the mindset. And from a tactical point of view, we need your copy. What's the hook? What are the benefits? Why would somebody come? When is the event going to be? What time is it? All these things that entrepreneurs don't think of until they need to. It's like, oh yeah, I guess we should do that this time. Is that a holiday? Right? We're just going to throw things against the wall, and then we start to rationalize and think about how it's going to all come into play. And to us, it's really having that team that supports you to go, okay, are you sure you want to do it from 1 to 4? Because this and that and the other thing's going on. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. As opposed to somebody that just does the task and says, okay, your landing page is up.
Yeah.
We don't want to be that. We want to partner with you to help you to succeed.
Yeah, I think that's so important, being a partner, whether it is outside or inside, but it's not just about making something and being done. It's about building that experience. And going back to what you said too about strategically thinking, not just about the business, but what is it that you want to do with your life? Like what does that look like? Even going, maybe a level above, what does this business look like? But what does life look like? And how does all of this fit in? And really thinking through that, whether you're doing your own business or whatever it is that you may be doing, that feels really, really important in order to start to structure all of these things in a way that makes the most sense. So that, I don't know, that just really like hit home with some of the things that we're talking about, as far as like, it really goes back to the strategy that you're trying to accomplish with your business, with your life, and how can you structure everything in order to make that happen in the best way, and then start to implement the tactics in order to do it, and not the reverse.
Exactly. A lot of people, like influencers, will go, oh yeah, I want to build a huge following so that I can sell my company. I was like, well, you're not going to be able to sell your company based on TikTok followers, or even Facebook followers for that matter, or Instagram. It's your ability to be able to get those followers' attention off of social media and into your own platforms, whether that's your email, whether it's your website, whatever it is that's yours and you own it. That's the goodwill of the company. So if you don't understand that in the first place, you're never going to build your company to fulfill that, because it would never have occurred to you. So it's being able to understand, again, even if your goal is to sell your business, okay, how do we structure everything so that everything becomes an asset? Everything becomes a something that somebody looking to buy a business is going to look at and go, yes, I'm looking for this, that, and the other thing. So they're not just looking for profits. They're looking for, what are your P&Ls? What's your expenses? What are your losses? What's depreciating over time? All of these seemingly little things that are just part of business, if you're just putting it together, become paramount if you're looking to sell. And sometimes it's a really easy change to make. It's just, oh, okay, so we got to, instead of giving people things on Instagram, we get them to go to the website and then they can get the thing there. Yeah, absolutely. That's all it is. And it's just little tweaks that make a huge difference to the end game.
Yeah, totally agree. Talking about that, what is the best advice that you would give to somebody looking to start their own thing, or go into business for themselves, or build a business for themselves in some way?
Number one, keep it simple. The more simple you can keep it, the probability is that the more on track you are. So that comes down to, again, strategy first. Ask more questions than you're putting money down. So if you're going to put anything on the table, it should be questions. And then once you have all those questions answered, then you can start to put your money down, and you'll probably be more accurate in it. Again, keeping it simple and keeping your ideal client's journey as the number one objective of your company.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely perfect. Couldn't agree more with like all of those things. And I feel like it's not even just for starting a business, but for anything really. It's keep it simple, keep the strategy in mind, and keep the user journey at the forefront of anything that you're doing. So I think that is a absolute perfect summation of all of this. Well, this has been a really fun conversation, and I appreciate it. But before I have a couple wrap up questions, but before we do that, is there anything that you wanted to add to what we talked about, or maybe what we didn't talk about?
I think if people are looking for support, absolutely connect with me. I would love to help you in your business. Would encourage people to go to the website, which I'm sure will be in the notes. And we have a ton of fun assessments and surveys and quizzes and all sorts of fun things about branding and technology and wherever you feel like you need the most amount of help and service. And at the end of all of those, you'll get a link for a discovery call with me. And I'm happy to strategize with you on whatever's going on, whatever phase of business you're in. If you're just starting out, call me anyways, because I love helping you, because the faster you can become successful, the faster we can start helping you. If you're in huge business and you're like, hey, I don't want to be sold anything, I'm totally cool with that too. I'll give you tools and techniques, reports that you can give to your team, take it back to them and get them to implement. We just want to help you to be successful.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, we will put the links in the show notes to the website for awareness strategies, to link with Michelle where you can find her, and obviously anything else that you want to put in there, we will link there as well. So wrapping up, we like to wrap up with a couple questions just around things that you have either found interesting recently or maybe haven't. But first off, have you read or watched or listened to anything recently that you'd like to share?
Absolutely. Have I watched or seen or heard anything interesting? See, and I get that question. I'm like, oh man, you should have seen that thing. It was awesome. Yes. Can we circle back to that one? Because I know there's something in it and it just hasn't hit my brain. It's going to pop in any second, whatever.
Yeah. And the other one is, are there any products that you have that you're using right now that you've enjoyed or have not enjoyed? So anything that you maybe tried, either digital products or physical products, that you want to give a shout out to, or have not enjoyed. You've tried it and you're like, this just is not great. And you can give them a negative shout out right now too.
Well, of course, I'm going to promote Keep Max Classic because it's awesome and amazing. And do not go and play with it yourself, especially if you're not techie. Go and get somebody else to help you with that. And I think one of the big things that I am not enjoying in the whole tech world is a lot of people are trying to oversimplify the software to do the thing, and it doesn't end up doing the thing. So be careful of good marketing and bad execution. It is a very real thing in the digital marketing world. I'll warn you on that one. No,
that's a really good call out. Love it. On the marketing and the products that don't deliver on what they're saying, especially if it's overly simplified. Okay. I don't know if you've had a chance to think of anything that you've read or watched recently that you want to shout out to. If not, that's okay.
Well, and I will shout out to Scale Up, because they are an awesome company in their ability to be able to clearly look at, when it comes to the difference between starting a company, growing a company, scaling a company, and exiting a company. And if you can understand that one has to be firmly in place before the next one, absolutely. So Vern Hamish's book on scaling up, the Gazelle, whatever it is. My apologies, Vern. But his material is always awesome.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, we can put the link in the show notes for that as well. Okay. Awesome. Well, Michelle, this has been a really, really fun conversation. Again, I really appreciate it. It has been great to talk to you, and really thank you for your insight, your expertise, and your time and sharing that with us.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. And thank you everybody for listening. We'll talk again next time. Thanks again for listening. If you like the show, be sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can follow the show on Twitter at prod_by_design. That's prod_by_design. You can follow me at Kyle Larry Evans on Twitter as well. If you want more product conversation, check out my newsletter, Product Thinking, at productthinking.cc. You can follow me on Medium at Kyle Larry Evans as well, or check out my Medium publication, Product by Design. Thanks again.